Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, March 17, 2019, please come to order? For the benefit of those who may not have participated in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. 1, the Secretary will read the legal call of the meeting as published in the local newspapers. 2, the applicant will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of this property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from the Commissioners. There will then be the opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. First, those who wish to support the application may come forward, and second, those who oppose the application will then be invited to come forward. As this is a public hearing, it must be recorded. It is necessary for speakers to identify themselves and state their name and address before addressing the Commission. 4, the applicant is then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing and the regular meeting, at which time Commissioners will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the Commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Office 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. Seated this evening are Richard Wallace, I'm Philip Johnson, Alan Brown, Scott Edmonds, Jason Marchi, Michael Basso. Town staff is George Kroll and Lisa Piombino, and our videographer is Peter Schultz. Will the Vice Chair please read the legal notice?
Legal notice, Planning and Zoning Commission, Guilford, Connecticut. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on April 17, 2019 at 7:30 p.m., location being the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, in the Nunkatuck Room on the second floor for the following purposes. Guilford Gas, LLC, otherwise known as HOCON, Soundview Road, map 35, lot 9, zone I-2, coastal area management and site plan for installation of a double wall safe self-containment 1,000-gallon diesel fuel tank. Judith Keogh, 1700 Little Meadow Road, map 97, lot 31, zone R8, special permit to convert an existing detached accessory apartment into a home office. Connecticut Water Company, 478 Long Hill Road, map 79, lot 16, zone R5, special permit and site plan to allow construction of a new above-grade water pump station. Frank Gaglio, 100 Deepwood Drive, map 16, lot 102, zone R5, coastal area management for additions to a single-family residence within 100 feet of a critical coastal resource. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communication will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 26th day of March, 2019. Philip Johnson, Chairman.
Withdrawn from this evening's public hearings are Richard and Kathy Heffernan, 383 East River Road, as well as Robert Mangino, Post Road, map 84. HOCON has requested to continue to 5-1. We have a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's go straight to Judith Keogh. Please come up and state your, I'm assuming you're Judith Keogh.
Yeah. I'm Judith Keogh, and I'm at 1700 Little Meadow Road in Guilford.
Okay,
And so I'm, as it says on the agenda, I'm requesting a special permit to convert an existing detached accessory apartment into a home office. The detached structure was originally a small horse barn on our property. It was converted by previous owners into a one-bedroom standalone apartment in the 90s. You'll see in the application packet the special permit for that structure to be used as an accessory apartment. I'm hoping now to use that structure for my business. I'm a board certified and state licensed massage therapist. I've been in practice for just about 20 years. I specialize in working with women with post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder resulting from rape and physical and childhood abuse. So working with that population, it's incredibly important that I'm able to offer my clients a high level of safety and privacy. I've been practicing as a massage therapist here in Guilford since 2017 at the Health Options Building at the corner of State Street and Route 1. It's a wonderful facility, but it's jam-packed full of practitioners of various kinds, chiropractors, acupuncturists, therapists, and it's really not a great fit for the kind of work that I do.
I assume you've got adequate parking?
I do. I don't know if you can see it on the, or if you even have the large site plan. I have a copy of a smaller site plan, if that's helpful, as well as some photographs. I have 2 parking spaces that will be available to clients. This is the structure in question. There's a parking space here and a parking space here. I don't see more than 1 client at a time, obviously, and I like to allow half an hour between clients so that there is complete privacy and no overlap. So I can't foresee needing more than 1 space really, but on the off chance that we need more than 1, we've got 2.
So this is basically the access off a Little Meadow Road down the Common Drive?
It is, yes, and this is our home here. And then the
That's where
cottage
you
here.
are.
Yeah.
Where is it on this map?
So this is the home and this is the accessory building.
And this is 1 parking space, and this is another parking space.
So that's currently an apartment, you're saying?
It is.
That was in capacity, so there's a bathroom in there?
There's a bathroom in there.
Tied into the regular septic system?
It is. And I'm not going to be offering any spa-related services. So while there is a stall shower, that will never be used by clients or anyone else.
All right, Dennis Johnson says, he's the Director of Health, April 17th, 2019. The application proposed the apartment conversion to a office home will not conflict operations or location of the septic system and current existing one. So you're all set on that.
Any clarifying questions from commissioners? I mean, it seems like a pretty low intense use to me.
Right.
We won't be performing any construction on the structure other than painting the exterior and putting up shutters. So no impact.
George, is there anything else that we need to know about it?
No. So just to understand and clarify, by appointment only, you will not be overlapping, you'll have
No.
time in between, so the traffic impact is negligible.
Yes, in the letter that I wrote to my neighbors, I specified my booking policies, and what I wrote is that I book client sessions a minimum of 90 minutes apart. So if there's a 60-minute session, it would be 90 minutes. If it's a 90-minute session, it would be 120 minutes. And see a maximum of 6 clients per day, Monday through Friday, and 4 clients per day on Saturday. I do not schedule clients before 9 o'clock a.m. or after 7:30 p.m. on weekdays, or before 9 o'clock a.m. or after 4 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, and I do not see clients on Sunday.
Are there any clarifying questions from the audience? Please.
Hi.
Come on forward, state your name and address.
My name is Elaine.
Okay, I'm sorry, because we record this, can you step over to the mic, please? Thank you.
I've only seen it on TV. My name is Elaine Canning. I don't supposed to talk
It's
about-
just for the TV, you're good.
Okay. My name is Elaine Canning. I live at 1730 Little Meadow Road. And our property lines are like 50 feet away from here. Yeah. Is there any fence that's going to be put up there? Put up there? It's just like to say.
Where the stone wall is?
Yeah,
That
but-
borders the property?
Yeah, before the office, because we can see it from our house, and it's like, I was afraid of people, like, being excited or post-traumatic stress. It's very unpredictable.
Well, To answer your question, we hadn't planned on putting up a fence, but that's, I think, something we'd certainly be open to talking with you about, if that's really a concern to you. Post-traumatic stress, people with post-traumatic stress, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're excitable in the way that you might think about with someone with really severe untreated mental illness. Any clients that leave my home, or I should say the property, will need to be able to drive, and I would never want to put someone behind the wheel of a car who was in a really
Right.
excitable state.
That's what was my only question, if
Yeah.
somebody gets out and they start running, but it's not like that at all.
No,
Okay.
this is more like a traditional independent psychotherapy office. I'm also in graduate school for counseling at Southern Connecticut State University, so I'll be a counselor when this is done.
Okay.
But this is in no way like an asylum or a mental
Well,
institution.
yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I question. Somebody's gonna walk through the woods right to our house,
No,
or?
absolutely
No,
not.
okay.
I absolutely will not allow clients to walk
Yeah.
on the property. No,
Okay.
no, but I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, okay, I feel a lot better.
Yeah, I can see why it would be a concern, for sure.
That's all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Would anyone like to speak in favor of the application? Would anyone like to speak against the application?
Move to close the motion.
One second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
One last sentence. Because this is a special permit, we're required to have a second public meeting. That can be waived by a supermajority vote of the board. I'm comfortable with the being of one meeting on this one.
That's good, yeah.
So we want to make a motion to waive the second public hearing?
I make a motion, we'll have second. Second.
Call the vote, all in favor? Thank you. Sorry, that's just a little point of order.
No, I appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Certainly. Connecticut Water Company, 478 Long Hill Road, map 79, lot 16, zone R5. Special permit and site plan to allow construction of a new above-grade water pump station.
Good evening. My name is Justin Parlapiano. I'm a project engineer with Connecticut Water. Also with us tonight is our manager.
Sorry. Thanks.
I'll start over.
Sorry. That'd be great.
That's fine. So my name is Justin Parlapiano. I am a project engineer with Connecticut Water. Also with us tonight is our manager of engineering, Jim Casagrande, as well as Steve DiFrancesco, who is a representative of AECOM, the engineer of record. So tonight, I just want to introduce the project. We're presenting a proposal for replacement of a water pump station, which is currently below grade at the same property at 478 Long Hill Road. The property is located just south of Copper Hill Drive and north of Apple Tree Lane. And if we need to identify it a little bit further, it's just north of the safety zone, which is a landmark there. So a little history about the project is in 1958, in the street line, we built a below-grade water pumping station to service the local area. We have owned and operated that pump station since then. In 1962, there was a residence that was built on the lot. and in 2016, that residence went up for sale, so we saw it as an opportunity to purchase the lot. Some zoning information about this parcel is we are in an R5 zone within the overlay of the approved Level A Aquifer Protection Area and the Groundwater Protection District zoning boundaries. A water pumping station is an allowed use by special permit in an R5 zone. Our proposed structure complies with all the setback requirements, the maximum building height limit. We've conducted preliminary reviews, 2 of them, with planning and zoning. We submitted an application for site plan approval as well as special permit use. We have consulted the town's tree warden and the design review committee last week. A little description about the project. This is the overall site plan. So the proposed station is replacement of the existing below-grade station that's currently in the property street line. The existing station has reached the end of its useful life, and for operational concerns, it requires a major upgrade. A replacement station has been in Connecticut Water's long-range supply plan and has been identified by the State of Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, also known as PURA, as a capital improvement project that should be completed. The structure is required to service the immediate area to the north and west to the town line, and engineering constraints limit the location of the replacement of the station to the immediate vicinity of the existing station. So we realize that this is going to have major construction impacts. The major events during construction include demolition of the existing home and the pool and all of its structures, which is on the rear of the lot. It also includes demolition of the existing pump station, which is here in the street line. Obviously, construction of the new pump station and an execution of a landscaping plan that we've aimed to improve the protection of the groundwater, being that it's in the groundwater zone, as well as the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Some notable features about the project is that we've designed the station to look like a New England style barn to fit in with the residential neighborhood, and it's been located on the front of the lot. After demolition of the existing home is complete, the rear of the lot will be returned to a continuous woodland containing native species of trees. So I can show a depiction of that here. So this is essentially what the site will look like post-construction. All of this will become woodland. We could provide some woodland here, and the pump station will be here, which is in front of the existing homes, which are located essentially in line where the current home is. This will improve the groundwater protection as well as provide a privacy buffer between the adjacent properties. The major mechanical equipment that is housed inside the pump station are pumps and a generator. The generator is strictly for backup power supply. The only anticipated noise after construction will be from routine manual operation of the generator. That operation is for 30 minutes, once a month, it's not automatic, so there will be a manual run. And it'll be during normal business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock to 4:30. The noise that is generated from the generator will be dampened by sound attenuating storm louvers, a separate foundation to dampen the vibration, and a critical exhaust silencer. This will be an automated, unmanned facility with average traffic of one vehicle 1 to 2 times a week. At project completion, the total impervious surface area will be reduced from 20.2% to 7.3%, with a minimum net zero increase of surface water runoff. Our construction schedule is scheduled to start following land use approvals, with completion by December of this year. So that's the project in a nutshell, and now I'll entertain any questions.
Can you tell me why you decided to make this structure above ground when the prior one was below?
So with the structure being below grade, it automatically becomes a permit-required confined space, which means you need continuous air monitoring, you need an attendant, you need a supervisor attendant, and it's for routine operation, it's not a safe environment, especially to today's standards. So anything that we have below grade is going to be upgraded to an above-grade station.
Is this essentially replacing the one south of 95 on Long Hill Road?
No, it is replacing the one that is right in front of the property.
The generator diesel or gasoline,
It's a diesel generator
and you'll be storing the diesel on, inside the building on the property?
inside the building. And
How
it'll
many gallons for that tank?
I believe, I think it's 500 gallons.
That's double wall containment,
A double wall containment,
Okay.
500 gallon diesel fuel tank.
as well as alarms, so that they were breaking the intertank, the interstitial space is monitored, so it's alarmed if there was a break. And all fuel is monitored by our personnel, we have spill control plan in place.
So it couldn't just leak out and be uncontrolled, yeah? You wouldn't know about it if it...
Correct.
Okay.
Did you identify yourself?
I'm sorry, James, if you'd like to know.
That'd be great.
Share the stage. Yes, James Casagrande, Connecticut Water Company. And again, I don't know if you want me to repeat what our just answers were.
Probably didn't pick it up. Yeah, I guess my question was about the safety of the fuel of the...
Yes, so the fuel storage is approximately 500 gallons. It's contained in a sub-base fuel tank to the generator. That's a double wall tank. We monitor the interstitial space. It's alarmed. If there was a break in the inner tank, we would get an alarm. Any fuel deliveries that we were to receive at the site are monitored by our personnel, and we have a spill control plan in place for fuel deliveries. Our usage of fuel oil on the site will be less than the average residential home.
30 minutes.
Yeah, and when the power goes out.
Yeah, when the power goes out.
I have a letter here from Kevin McGee, the environmental planner, dated April 17th, 2019. The Connecticut Water Company is proposing to remove the existing house, swimming pool, and underground pump station in order to construct an above-ground pump station at the property. The applicant has completed the checklist to guide low-impact development best management practices and is utilizing several of the recommended practices. The stormwater management system at the site utilizes low-impact design features consisting 2-foot wide gravel infiltration trenches around the building and the construction of 2 rain gardens. I don't know if you want to point them out on the drawing.
Sure.
The plans for the project have sedimentation and erosion control procedures that are in compliance with 273-97B, subsection 6 of the zoning regulations. A site visit of the property indicated that wetlands are located along the western side of the property. The plans should be updated to reflect the adjacent wetlands. The removal of the house and swimming pool are located within the Inland Wetlands Commission regulated review zone, and a review of the proposed work is required by the Inland Wetlands Commissions. I recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission table the application until after the Inland Wetlands Commission acts on the application. As part of the removal of the underground pump station, trees would need to be removed within the town's right-of-way. The applicant's landscape plan provides for the replanting of trees within the right-of-way and on the property with native tree species. Prior to the removal of any trees in the town right-of-way, a tree removal permit is required from the town's tree warden. Had you seen this prior, this letter from our environmental planner?
Well, we hadn't received the letter, but I spoke to Kevin McGee, and he gave me his determination on that.
Okay,
So
so
if I
that's
may,
not news to you?
it's not news, no.
Okay.
Sure.
George, does this have to go before?
When's the next inland wetlands?
Well, let me ask a couple of questions and also expand on the discussion about wetlands. Kevin told me that the water company believes that their facilities and activities are exempt from local wetlands reviews? Is that your position at this point, or?
It is not, no.
Oh, okay.
We are going to investigate the wetlands.
Okay.
On the original survey, there was a note that there were no wetlands within 100 feet based on the GIS mapping. But we have a soil scientist going to the site tomorrow to take samples and come to a determination on whether they are wetlands or not.
All right.
And we fully intend on doing what is needed to consult with inland
So
wetlands.
with that understanding, you understand that the Planning and Zoning Commission will not be acting on this application then until such time as either it's determined that you don't need a wetlands permit or you have obtained one.
We understand that, and
Okay.
what we would like to clarify the procedure
Right.
after
The
this
other thing
presentation.
that Kevin and I talked about is that if you were anxious to get started on the new improvements, which are well outside the 100-foot review area, you could in effect separate the project and do the demolition as a separate project and obtain wetlands approval for that, because the building itself, the new building and the new pump station do not require wetlands approval if it's a separate application. But it doesn't sound like we need to go that way, at least based on what you're suggesting so far.
I don't think we're pressed to do that
Okay.
right now.
Yeah. You also asked about the design review committee. Were any of you at the design review committee meeting?
I don't see.
Justin presented it.
You were there?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
present with them.
I wasn't there, unfortunately, and they had a number of suggestions, which I'm reading from, you probably haven't seen their minutes, or maybe you have?
I recall.
Okay.
I haven't seen the minutes, though.
I'll read the design review committee recommendations, and perhaps you can address them. The first one was that the building should be located at least as far back as at the start of the stone wall, and more preferable would be on the site of the existing house. That's kind of, I guess, their major recommendation.
Right.
They also suggest that the design of the building should be reversed. I don't know what that means.
With their suggestion they suggested to locate the building from here to approximately where the
Right,
existing
yeah, I
home was,
understand that part.
and then take what we are showing as paved walkway entrances on the front and north of the building,
Basically rotate everything
and flipping
180
them
Oh, okay.
behind.
All right. Their next suggestion is that alternative plant suggestions should be updated on the plant list. Do you know what that means?
They recommended that we could add if we wanted more evergreens.
Okay. And
To
then the building should
diversify.
only have the openings needed?
Yeah, essentially, we could have 2 openings and eliminate this one here,
Okay.
but
The doors should be a contrasting color, but all other openings should match the siding color?
right, referring to the storm louvers,
Okay.
to paint those to match the siding and only highlight.
The building
trim
gable
doors.
ends should be square?
Yeah,
You
so we could,
understand what that means? Okay.
if you look at the way the gable ends currently point outward,
Okay.
essentially squaring those off.
Okay. The cupola should be removed, but the weather vane may remain.
Yeah.
And the applicant should return to the design review committee with final color samples and a material palette for a final review. Those are the recommendations of the design review committee.
What's your name again?
Justin,
Justin, can you show me where the houses are on the lots on either side? You said the houses were set back? The existing houses of the neighboring lots? Yeah, so they're opposite where the trees.
it was,
Or contiguous with the existing house on this lot, the houses are in concordance.
existing home here.
Yeah, so the neighbor's house is there, okay. Just wanted to see. So you want to set it forward of that?
So,
Correct.
It sounds like
if I may.
most of these recommendations are fairly minor, with the exception of the one that the building be relocated to the rear.
Correct.
Maybe you could elaborate on why, I assume you don't want to do that?
No.
And explain why you don't want to do that, or why that's not feasible?
Sure. That's exactly correct, and we did that for a specific reason. We did bring the house forward because realizing we are a use by special permit, we're not exactly consistent with the existing uses, the other residential uses here. If we were to put the pump station at the back of the lot, we would literally be separated from those other uses, the existing homes, by less than 50 feet. Not an ideal situation for trying to get mixed uses in a residential zone. So what we tried to establish was bring the pump station forward, get as much separation from the existing abutters that we could, so that we didn't disturb their use of their property. As well, what we were trying to achieve with the site was to reforest the upland woodland in the back. And the best use of that is to get a continuous forest down into the lot. If we were to put the pump station in the back and reforest the front, wouldn't achieve the same effect. So again, we think that our use of this lot is going to have less impact in the aquifer protection zone than a typical residential home. We're eliminating the septic, and we're improving the adjacent woodland, and also creating a buffer between our use and the neighbors.
Do you have any data on the noise level from the generator? I know you had talked about some of the control mechanisms for noise, but I know I've got one, and it's awful.
So it won't be as awful as that. I hesitate to put data out there because I think Town of Guilford actually has a sound ordinance, noise ordinance, which I believe is probably something around 100 decibels at the property line. If you're familiar with these type things, you can't achieve that with a lawnmower on your property.
You know what the KW of that generator would be and the RPM? The reason I ask is because I have an old 1948 Kohler generator that turns at 1,200 RPM. Nobody can hear it.
So
it's like idling versus 3,000.
Not quite that slow. I think we're in the 85 KW range. Can't recall.
75.
So we're 75 kV, so approximately 75 horsepower. It is a low RPM generator. We're 1,800 RPM,
That's
water
perfect.
cooled. We do have significant experience installing generators in residential areas, and we have little to no, we have lots of concerns in public hearing, but little to no, follow-up issues with sounds with generators. And again, the only time it's run is during test and if there is a major power outage.
So I think the tree, what they have, it sounds like it's a home run.
We go into the questions. Any clarifying questions from the audience? Would you please step forward, state your name and address?
Hi, Elizabeth Fairman, 21 Crabapple Lane. We abut at the back. So I just had a couple of questions. Do I direct them to him? No, just
We're just trying
out
to
there.
get all
Great.
the answers now. So
Great.
They'll answer the questions.
Thank you. We do have wetlands at the back, so I don't know why they're not on the map. So I appreciate very much the movement of this pumping station toward Long Hill Road rather than back to where it was. Wondering what the perimeter fencing would be that might abut all the properties. You could tell us that. And also, I think your note on the plan that landscaping will return to the wooded state, and I think that is greatly appreciated. But I wondered if you could clarify how many trees would be planted. I understand they're 3 to 3.5 inch in diameter, but since in our house we just planted 6 trees last year and we had to water them every day, so I'm wondering what sort of maintenance would happen for these trees that you're going to be planting back there. And wondering also if planning and zoning could require some kind of bond that would ensure the survivability of such landscaping. I'd like to say in perpetuity, but that's probably not sensible, but, for 15 years, 20 years, something like that. I think that's all I had. Is that all I had? Yes, thank you. Bye.
So is the entire property going to be fenced, including the front, or is it?
So to address the fencing question, typically our pump stations are fenced for security reasons, being it's public drinking water, it needs to be protected. One of the benefits of it being on the front of the lot is it's visible to some extent. So we actually are not going to require any fencing for the property. No fencing. Okay, the other questions. Amount of trees? Okay. Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12. And we're looking to put maybe a few more here. So 12 to 15 trees. Those trees are a mixture of, as of now, white pines, black gum, and maple, I believe. Maple or oak, which are taller deciduous trees. And then everything else would be wild growth.
Okay, I mean, white pine is not ideal, obviously, because it starts advancing on the trunk.
Mhm.
There is less white pine, but the idea was to get a conifer in. If you'd like to see something else, we're certainly open to that. You know, white pine is usually the go-to for survivability and as well as rapid growth in a screen situation.
Growth, but we know that it loses branches and needles along the bottom. We planted them ourselves, and we're very sorry we did.
I understand.
I would think with the wetlands, the survivability of the trees would probably be enhanced without.
Sure, I'm just saying
Yeah.
white pine would be
Sure.
my first choice. But also, the maintenance over the first year is something that I'd be concerned about. Could you say
Yeah,
that?
I don't know how planning and zoning would handle that, but, you know, it's obviously our goal to get this as an established woodland. So we do want the plantings to survive, so.
So the water
you know.
company might be willing to put up a bond for that?
Yeah, absolutely, or whatever the zoning commission has, but we could in some way guarantee that wood growth, because that is our goal here, is to establish the woodland until it's self-sufficient and not at risk.
Any other clarifying questions?
Did I answer all of your questions? Okay.
If you could step forward and state your name and address, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, Dawn Merrithew, 559 Long Hill Road. What is the size of the building? I don't have the specs.
Sure. It's 1,200 square feet. It's about 25 feet wide by, I think, 45 feet long.
And what was the color going to be?
Oxford blood red for
Okay.
the design review committee.
And when
So
you
Oxford red.
change it,
Oxblood.
Oxblood, like a true barn, when you change over to the new pump house, I'm up above that. Am I going to have a long disruption?
No, we're going to keep the existing pump station in service and have all of the water main and everything tied into the new one. So it's like flicking a switch. It will
Okay, thank you.
go into the new one.
Yeah, if I might add on the construction schedule, because there was a part question from the commission as well on that. What our goal is to do is go in, remove the house, establish the woodland first, then start construction of the new station, and then the sequence would be removal of the existing pump station in the front. And we're really doing that to fit the construction schedule so that we have that upper area established in the growing season, and then before we even start construction on the lower portion on the new station. So that would be the sequence, would be removal of the house, construction of the new station, then removal of the existing station.
Any other clarifying questions in the audience?
How you doing? Alan Wojtek, 461 Long Hill Road. I live almost across the street from where this is going to be. I got a whole bunch of things. Sorry, I don't care what the benefit of it is. I know that sounds terrible, but I live there. I own the house there. It's an R5 residential zone. I'm concerned with, we talked about noise with the generator. I didn't hear anything about noise with the pump house. I'm mostly concerned with the value of my home.
This portion's just for the,
Okay.
you're clarifying specific
Yeah,
questions? 'Cause we'll have-
okay, I have questions then. Why does it have to be in that area? Why does it have to be red if it were to get approved? I don't care if it's in the front or the back where the home is. I don't want to look at a red barn. I just don't want to see a red barn. It's not, I don't want to have it be like the Oakdale in Wallingford, Connecticut, where there's this red structure across from my home. So why can't it be in another area?
I'm a
You said ask a question.
Sorry.
Absolutely,
In regards to the color, we don't have an agenda for the color. The color was suggested by the design review committee, so we don't have a preference.
I would suggest if you have concerns about the color, just contact design review. They're very open. It's discussion.
It's not just the color. I'm learning of this the firsthand. I got something slapped on my front door and nothing else was delivered after being notified about this, or it would have snuck by and I never even would have known. So I'm just concerned about the structure being built. And if it were getting passed, I'm concerned about the color. I'm concerned about the value of my home. I'm concerned about the pump noise, which I didn't hear anybody speak to the pump noise. I heard a lot of talk about generation noise. So I think there needs to be more discussion about this. And I'm not even impacted where I'm not even the guy that's living next door to it, like someone else who's in this room. I'm just across the street.
In regards to the pump noise, there won't be any. The pumps don't generate noise from any of our stations, so we stated that the only anticipated noise would be from the generator. In regards to why the pump station needs to be located there, Jim, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the reason that we have to be located at that specific area is because of the existing station, which is in front of your home now. It's buried structure. It's been there for over 50 years, so it's practically invisible to anybody that's passing by. And quite possibly a lot of the neighbors don't even realize that that station is there. I might suggest if you don't experience noise from the existing station, which would be closer to your home, you likely will not experience noise from this station, which is going to be further away. You're across the street.
I can hear you say that, but I can't believe it when you're building a, 12 or 1,300 square foot station with pumps. So that station, you can't even see it because it's covered by mostly, vegetation. And so it's a much bigger structure with pumps. So I didn't hear, again, the pump noise being addressed, and that's a lot smaller of a pump that's located right on the road there.
I appreciate that. I don't know if you want.
Because we'll have to have a second meeting for this, if you could just bring us some specs on the projected pump noise at 100 feet or wherever the closest distance would be, that would be very helpful.
Yes, we could absolutely do that.
Please step forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jim Bracken. I'm the guy that lives next door. I have some concerns, and mostly it was the pump noise. My living room windows are 50 feet away from your building. I don't hear anything now, and I really don't hear anything. I understand the generator. I appreciate you running that on business hours when everybody's working. I do appreciate that. A point of clarification, the pumps they have now are on a right-of-way or an easement, and it's not located on the property. I have a A2 survey that shows that. So I guess my other concern is you're letting a commercial application go through here. And is it a commercial zone? It's a residential zone?
It's not a commercial use, so.
Well, you sell water. That's a commercial, a supporting commercial operation. So it's.
Yeah.
And my next concern is, let me go one more.
Yes, absolutely.
Is, I don't want you to come back 6 months, a year later and say, oh, we want to store our trucks here or equipment here. Once you open the door to this, I think it's very possible that could happen with a gas company down the road. So I guess my biggest concern is the noise and the setback for the design review that wants it set back. If you put that back there, that's 40 feet away from 30 feet away from my house, and I really don't want to see that. It's a residential ABA zone right now.
Other question, so your house is where they would propose to put the trees, correct, left and right? Where the trees are now? Or where the trees will be? Your house is next to the existing house.
Where are we?
Yeah, point to where your house is now.
Where's your house on that?
Where's the facility?
Earthquakes.
My house is here. Is this Long Hill?
Correct. This is Long Hill, this is the existing home up here. That's the pool, that's the home.
Okay, so I'm here. I'm here.
So by them moving it forward, and they're putting the trees, they're going to give you a sound barrier. You're not going to be looking right at it.
Well, I appreciate it moving forward.
Yes,
You know, if this
okay.
has to happen at all,
Yeah.
personally, you know, I appreciate it moving forward, but I don't think a couple of trees are going to dull the sound.
No.
I don't hear anything now, and I don't want to hear anything. That's what it comes down to.
Does it have a generator backup now, built into it?
It does, it has not been functional in quite a few years.
I'm sorry, if I could just say one thing, it's literally a shed that's on the property now. So we're talking about going from a shed.
I'm sorry,
to 1,200.
did you have a clarifying question?
No, I was
Okay,
a comment.
So
actually.
we'll get the comments in a minute, okay?
Thank you.
Sorry.
So in regard to noise, we've determined that we will come back to the second meeting with actual technical data from the manufacturers stating what the sound levels will be and what the anticipated noise will be.
Possible to get that in advance so people can review it?
Certainly.
I think we could find a way to
Would I distribute that to planning and zoning?
get it to George.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll figure out a way.
Yeah, we'll get that information out there.
And my other concern is light. You know, it's a
Certainly.
dark lot right now. There's a post light at the end of the driveway.
That's
I
it.
don't want is it going to be lit 24/7, or how is this?
No, so there,
going to be lit?
there is motion sensor only, LED downlight at the entrances. So there'll be 3 lights because there's 3 entrances, and the only time you'll see them is if there is motion. And it's only downlight, so it will not project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If I could, the gentleman raised a concern about the commercial use of the property. Again, in the Guilford zoning regs, public utility substations, which this is a use by special permit. It is not a request for commercial use in a residential zone, which may have been the gas company concern. But if the commission were to approve this use, they're approving this use and not an expansion of this use. If we were to change our use of this property, we have to come back.
Jim, the question came up about the lines there hydraulically. Do you want, I don't think that was an answer.
So unfortunately, it's there because the existing station is there. We cannot physically change the location now that the water system has grown around it. We basically have to pump at this general vicinity. We had tried to obtain a lot down the street by the safety zone, and we're unsuccessful doing that. But that was as far south on Long Hill Road that we could have gone.
I think by nature of us serving residences, we have to be in the community in order to serve them. So that's why generally you'll find our stations hidden as much as we can, but in residential areas, because that's the people we serve.
Does the water pressure you're going to be generating, that feeds obviously to the houses, does it also feed to a hydrant system that the fire department would access?
Hydrant system, it feeds to Bishop Tank, which is about 3 miles north, which is our storage. And the system is equipped so we could provide fire protection services both north and south. If there was any pressure reduction from the suction side of the station, we can return water back down the hill to service that zone.
For your next meeting, maybe I might suggest that where you have these facilities in residential areas,
bring an example or two.
Bring an example of how it looks and what you do there.
We can bring examples, and they probably will be, they typically look like square brick buildings, like almost like an outhouse with an 8-foot gate around them, or a fence around them. So they won't be comparable to the aesthetics that we're proposing for this pump station.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Would anyone like to speak in favor of the application?
Does anyone have any comments against the application? Come on forward. State your name and address.
My name is Gina Wojtek, 461 Long Hill Road. I would just like to say if you could take a ride by the actual structure, because right now, if you see it, you probably would have to go by 2 or 3 times. It's literally a very, very small shed. You'd never even know it was there. So we're talking about changing the area dramatically in a residential zone. And I'm just curious as to why, I don't know if you know, why it didn't pass in the commercial area down near safety zone?
So I understand it sounds like they were not able to acquire the lot that they wanted, but that's...
If you'd like, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I'm curious.
So we did try to obtain several lots down in that area. Actually, the safety zone is, that field in front of the safety zone is zoned residential. And that's why we were trying to obtain from them a easement on that property. Because it was zoned residential, they couldn't do anything with it. However, we are a use by special permit in a residential zone, so we could have worked with that, but we weren't successful in negotiating.
From south of safety zone, that area is mixed.
Further
and
south,
commercial.
it is mixed, but it wouldn't serve our needs hydraulically for the pump station. As I said, the safety zone was really pushing the limits of where we could have located the station.
I just would like if anyone could just drive by and see it, because like you said, you cannot see it now, and then to have a 1,200 square foot structure put in there, it's going to change the area dramatically. And we're just concerned with our value of our house and noise, construction. We have kids, so I'd appreciate if the committee could do that for us. Thank you.
Could you put the architectural drawing back up of the barn, please? It's probably up there already, so run down.
Steve, do you recall the size of the current home right now? Excuse me? The existing home, size of that structure? Believe it, square footage of the existing home?
Existing home is big scale. This is 40. Existing home is approximately 70 feet long by 30 feet wide.
2,100.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak against the application? So I think at this point, you are going to coordinate with inland wetlands and with your soil people to find out whether or not that's applicable?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll
Terrific.
determine if it is wetlands through the soil scientists, and then we'll work with inland wetlands to determine what we need to do to...
George, when's the next meeting for inland wetlands?
It's
think it's
the
a
first, second Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
So it has to-
Until next month, so it'll be 15.
So what you're getting at is you would entertain continuing this meeting to the third Wednesday of May?
15.
I don't know what the
Well,
date
we
is.
meet the first and the third, right?
Right. So that would be after wetlands, yes.
So from our standpoint, we don't know what it would take to appease inland wetlands. If we need to go to their meeting on the second week of the month, we rather continue this the third afterwards, as opposed to doing 3 public hearings.
Well, if it wasn't resolved by the 15th, the commission could just continue it again. You wouldn't have to come to another meeting.
Okay.
Is that what you were?
Yeah, if we can resolve it out before the inland wetlands meeting, that would be the ideal.
If you didn't need a wetlands application,
Right.
this commission could consider it on the first Wednesday of the
Understood.
month.
Got it.
Now, the commission could continue this hearing to then, and then if it needs to be continued again, they could do it again without actually having a hearing with everybody present.
Understood.
Is that,
But
it's really,
If we have to apply,
Continue to the first or the 15th?
Well, you can always continue to the 1st and then continue it again if needed.
I was thinking, given that option, I would request that you continue it to the first meeting of the month. We expect a favorable outcome with inland wetlands, and to address it, it was an oversight on our part. We went by the town mapping for wetlands and didn't explore the property appropriately, but our activities are most likely going to be in the regulated zone for inland wetlands, but we're not proposing activity in the actual, what would be the wetlands. But we are going to wait on a determination from the soil scientists to define the scope of the wetlands. So we'll be in to see them, and we'll go from there.
You guys good with continuing to the 1st?
I'm going to continue to the 1st.
Second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Frank Gaglio, 100 Deepwood Drive, map 16, lot 102, zone R5. This is a coastal area management application for additions to a single-family residence within 100 feet of the critical coastal resource. Welcome. Thank you for your patience. No worries.
Chuck Mandel, agent for the owner and applicant, Frank Gaglio and Sherry Key. Don't you guys usually read the correspondence, or you want me to go through the presentation first? Or?
You want to go through the presentation first?
Okay. Okay. The property address is 100 Deepwood Drive. It's in an R5 zone. The house was built in 1967, and it's in an X zone. Per section 273-915E of the Guilford zoning regulations, CAM approval is required for this application. The owners are proposing an addition of 108 square feet at the front entrance, 24 square foot vestibule, and 100 square foot porch to the south. And they're adding an additional floor to the structure. These improvements are all below the allowed zoning requirements as shown on the chart of the maps that I handed out. We are proposing a bioretention / rain garden area to capture and treat the additional runoff via roof leaders. And I also handed out some photos you might want to look at. Photo 1 to the right is where the building was, where the 100 square foot addition is going to be added. And that is actually the nearest point to the coastal resource, which is tidal wetlands. On this plan, it's approximately 39 feet, but it's more of an infill as opposed to a greater encroachment on that area. Photo number 2 gives you a sense as to the topographical difference to the existing ground. This is sitting up on ledge. There's if you look at the topography, there's quite a difference in grade between where the actual structure is going to be. And photo 3 shows how it's going to be supported on the ledge. This project is consistent with the rights of private property owners and does not disrupt the natural environment as stated in Connecticut General Statute, Section 22A-92(1). And if you have any questions, I will entertain those.
When you're saying the 3 is how it's going to be constructed, you're talking about the sonotube?
Correct.
Built with concrete?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to go right on the ledge. It will not protrude, be down on the ground.
There won't be any digging into the ledge?
No. It's going to be pinned to the ledge, no blasting. X zone.
Thank you.
Area of no flooding.
Got it.
There is a small area, and Janice Plaziak, and this isn't part of the application, just so you see. I have another photo that shows there's an exposed wall to the north, and Janice suggested we fill that a couple of feet just to bring that up so the elevation 12 does not even get near the structure. But based on the FEMA mapping, it's completely in an X zone.
Scott, there's a letter here from Kevin. You want to read that?
Dated April 17, 2019, from Kevin McGee, the environmental planner. The application is proposing to construct a 108 square foot addition and 2 approximately 100 square foot porches. The coastal resources policies? I think you meant to say policies. Applicable for the property are coastal hazard area, shorelands, and tidal wetlands areas. The work being conducted is located outside of the flood hazard area. The site plan provides for erosion and sedimentation control measures that are designed to protect the adjacent coastal resources. The work being conducted could have an impact on the adjacent coastal resources if the erosion and sedimentation control measures are not properly installed and maintained. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. 1, the Town of Guilford Zoning Enforcement Officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site construction. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. That's the only condition. Are you aware of and fine with this condition?
Yes, and actually, there will be no stockpile at all. There's
no
no
stockpile.
excavation at all.
Okay.
So if there's going to be a dumpster for construction debris up in driveway area.
Right, so within the sedimentation control area.
Correct. And actually, we do propose silt fence along during construction of the rain garden and the entire southern side of the building.
Okay.
We'll have a silt fence installed.
There's also a letter from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection.
Yeah, this is a letter from, go ahead, you go.
Go for it, Jay.
Okay, this is for two Planning and Zoning Commission, Town of Guilford, Kevin McGee. That one, environmental planner, that one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Regarding coastal site plan review to build a small addition, 2 porches, and a vestibule at 100 Deepwood Drive, Frank Gaglio, applicant. Dear Commissioners, thank you for referring this coastal site plan review received March 27, 2019 to us for review and comment. Project description. The subject property is a 1.9775 acre waterfront lot which hosts a single family residence on an R5 zoned lot. The proposal is to construct a 108 square foot addition, 2 porches, and a vestibule of 26 square feet in a Zone X. The first floor elevation of the existing house is 25 feet and the existing residence is located in Zone X. The applicant should be recommended for installing a rain garden on the site. The coastal resources of this waterfront site should include tidal wetlands, coastal hazard area, velocity or VE-13, AE-12, and X, and shorelands. Hopefully everybody understands what all that means. Tidal wetlands. Tidal wetlands are an important coastal resource. It does not appear that the tidal wetlands have not been delineated on a site plan, although their presence is noted in the supporting documentation. Construction vehicles should not be parked on or driven in the vicinity of the wetland or the tidal wetlands. Excavated soil should not be spread in or near the tidal wetlands, which would adversely impact tidal wetlands. Temporary soil stockpile areas have not been drawn on the site plan. Any excavated material should not be stored or spread in the flood zones. Sedimentation and erosion control measures should be installed before any earth moving or site disturbance occurs. Conclusion. We hope that these comments are helpful to the Commission. Pursuant of CGS Section 22A-110, we request that these comments be read into the record at a public hearing for this application. If we can be of further assistance to you in this or any other coastal management or Long Island Sound related matter, please feel free to contact me at 860-424-3138. Signed sincerely, Carol. How do you pronounce your last name? Szymanski, Environmental Analyst 2 for Land and Water Resources Division, Bureau of Water Protection and Land Reuse. And that was received April 12th, that letter. I mean, April 2, excuse me.
Oh, no, I have. Okay. Alan, what do you say? Read this one from the Director of Health.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, April 17th, 2019. The application proposed house renovation and addition will not increase the total bedroom capacity beyond 3 bedrooms, nor will it impact the location or function of the existing septic system. It is recommended the application proposed addition be approved.
Thank you. Yep.
You want it?
Thank you.
Any clarifying questions from commissioners? We're just here to protect the environment. If it checks the boxes and we have towns, it's not like we're regulating the construction. We're literally regulating the management of the process to protect the sound and the coastal resources. So, in a lot of these...
In reference to the DEP letter, all construction vehicles will be in the paved area of the driveway. The topography doesn't even lend itself to get down below where the actual construction is, and they will be using best management practices.
And you've already stated there won't be any excavation.
There is
in
no
this project
excavation.
itself of surface.
No, just construction material, wrappers from the roofing, whatever.
Silt fence.
And the silt fence will be installed prior to any construction.
You guys good with questions? Any clarifying questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
The deck that's shown on there, is that an existing deck?
Can you identify yourself?
I should know better. My name is Brian Stone. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm. I represent the Nancy Hassan Trust, which is the owner of 111 Deepwood Drive, which is directly across Deepwood to the west of the site. So this house is literally in between my client's property and Long Island Sound. So the deck is 1,600 square foot deck that's shown on the back. Is that an existing deck?
This is existing, yes.
It is existing?
Yes.
Do you have the architectural drawing?
I do.
There is. Can you show me that, where that deck shows on the?
On the architectural, on the existing?
On the floor plan?
Just a point of clarification, I was just wondering where this is going as far as
I'm
the deck.
just
Oh, okay.
following suit.
Okay.
I was just trying to ask a clarifying question.
You want to bring them over here? Flip through them.
Let's see here. This is just the actual house, then you show the deck. This is an elevation, this is the
Rear elevation here.
It doesn't appear that the existing deck is even shown on the proposed plans on the architecture.
But it does show on the site plan. It does not show on the architecturals.
Is this the deck here?
Yeah, you can see part of it in the back.
Yeah.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Would anyone like to speak in favor of this? Would anyone like to speak against it? Yes. Remembering that this is a CAM application.
I remember that it's a CAM application, and I strictly intend to address CAM. First, a procedural issue, which I had mentioned to you, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to request that the hearing be continued for a number of reasons, which, when I give you the reasons, will be most of my presentation. First, the practical reason is my client wanted to be here for this hearing, wanted to address the commission, and he is out of state and could not be here tonight. The legal question, which is truly a question, is the public notice. No mention, I thought the deck was new as well, but there's no mention in the application of the second-story addition, which is significant to the view shed, the existing view shed related to this property. And if you read the application on page 2, the description of the application does not discuss that. It only talks about the little additions, but nothing concerning the second floor, which is going in. If you look at the letter from DEP, same thing. You don't see any mention of that. And I don't know, I did not see the published notice, so I don't know what that said concerning that. But if not, I think that's a significant omission.
Read the public notice. Happy to repeat it if you'd like.
Public notice was for map 16, lot 102, zone R5, coastal area management for additions to a single-family residence within 100 feet of the coastal jurisdiction at resource.
So it does discuss additions. It might not discuss it to the extent that you would have preferred the second floor, but I believe it.
Well, I can tell you that when my client, after he received the notice, which was about a week and a half ago, called the office and was asked to be described to him, and it was described as it appears in the application. He did end up coming in, so he did see the second floor, which is how I got involved a few days ago. Yes.
Clarification, George, what the proposed addition, again, we're just a CAM, so I'm just throwing this out for your benefit. Is it within the height limitations?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I know that.
I think if they were only putting a second floor addition on this house, it would not be subject to coastal management application?
Right. I disagree with that. I disagree with that entirely under your regulations.
If I may, the zoning enforcement officer, we had discussed that, and George is absolutely correct. We would not be subject to CAMs, it was just a second story. Because we're staying within the same footprint of the existing structure.
I beg to differ. If you look at your definitions, if you're within 100 feet, then anything, including a minor addition, which is subject to a public hearing. Get your regs. Exemptions. Minor changes in use of a building, structure, or property, except those changes occurring on property adjacent or abutting coastal waters, or the change from a water-dependent use. That's an exception.
27391 5E, if you were looking for it in the regulations. 27391 5E, echo. Yep.
Except when such structure is located within 100 feet of critical coastal resources, which this is.
That's why we're here for public hearing.
Right. So it doesn't matter whether the addition
Of the.
we have a public hearing.
Right.
But all I'm saying is that it is relevant because of the view shed. The other reason why I want to request a continuance is that we would like to have a view shed drawing done, which will superimpose on the area by photograph the actual structure to show the views. Naturally, my client is concerned about his view, but there's also concern with respect to public views from the road. If you drove down Deepwood Drive, Deepwood is a fairly steep hill coming down and turns and continues to decline in elevation as you go past Mr. Gaglio's house. Excuse me, of course. So as you're coming down that street, you have a panoramic view over that.
You know, everyone wants to maintain whatever they have.
I'm talking
And-
about the public view.
And one of my specific questions to George was, is the addition that they're proposing within the height limitations? I mean, it's not like they're looking for a variance to go higher and block people's views. They're within their right to build to this height, and again, that's not the subject of the CAM. You know, our CAM regulations are really just to protect the sound.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I can address this view, Ethan, I might-
Excuse me, can I finish, and he has a right for rebuttal. Thank you. Subsection D6 of your regulations requires evidence of compliance with low-impact development practices. Your guidance document for best management practices, site plan should respect natural and historic features such as stone walls and public view sheds, scenic views into and from the site. Examples of that are, of course, Long Island Sound. And that's exactly what this applicant is doing. When you look at the application, there's a checklist for compliance with those things, and noticeably absent from Mr. Stevens' view is consideration of view sheds. So what I would like is the opportunity to demonstrate that that view shed is being compromised, not just from my client's property, but also from the public road. And that is your charge, and that is part of the coastal area management regulations, and it is part of your regs. So I'm not looking to go beyond that. I'm trying to come into compliance with that. So I reiterate my request that this be continued to afford me that opportunity and to come back with my client. And if not, I have my objection. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I can address the...
Sure. Please
view,
do.
Site. Actually, if you do open your plans up, we do demonstrate a view lane on the plan. Actually, it's from public access, from Deepwood Drive. We have a 173-foot view, and that's per section 273-91J under view standards. It's actually number 1, and we are well in excess of the 20-foot side yard required of that regulation. We also demonstrate, if you open the plan, that the outside deck of the structure in question, actually this is the actual location of the structure on here. And if you look at that, the finished floor of the deck, which is on his first floor, it is at elevation 5681. So at the elevation of 56.8, and assuming an eye height of 5 feet, that puts you at elevation, this is all mean sea level, at 6180. And that would put the observer 11.52 feet over the proposed addition. And I also have a couple of photos I'd like to show you regarding the view lane. I'm submitting this as an exhibit. The trees, even without the leaves, are obscuring quite a bit of the view. So that deck that you're looking at, this is the white deck across the street. Thank you. You look at, now this is a view from the front deck of Mr. Gavler's porch. So that here is actually that white deck that you're looking at. So you can barely see it with the trees there. And once the foliage is in bloom, I don't even think they can see his house at all. So in regards to the view lane, though, I'll jump back to the other one that's required, is a 20, usually it's typically, Georgia can correct me if I'm wrong, it's a 20-foot side yard is what the view lane from a public access is what's required. And we are well in excess, and actually on this sheet, I show 173 feet. Right here, 175. This is the view, this is the view lane, here's the street.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in brief response?
Can't quarrel with him meeting the yard requirement for the view lane. I mean, obviously, just given the size of this lot, that's clear. But that does not obviate addressing the issue of the historic view. And I'm also talking about from the street, because I think that has more credence, frankly, under your regulations than my client's private view. And that is existing, and he has nothing to demonstrate that. And I think that view may even exist. I won't swear to this, I would know that if I did the view study, but if you look at the elevation of the road right in front of the house, and you look at the architecturals, you're very close to where, if you're passing on the road in front of the house, you can still see the water there. That will be gone as well. That may not be the case. I don't know, but I so sure would like the opportunity to show that that's the case. Definitely the case. To demonstrate coming down the road as it comes around the curve.
Someone like to make any other comments?
Where exactly, client you're representing, where is his house located on that map right there? Point that map right up there, on that map up there. Where's your?
It's located up there. That is the house. It's on the plan. I showed
Right there, okay.
We actually located it with elevation.
Oh, beautiful.
And the peak of the house, of the existing house, is almost equal to the addition. It's just like I said, it's more of an infill for the entire length of the house.
Any further comments? Someone like to make a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So, we'll have discussion about it. So I possibly? Okay.
I'll hang around, thank you.
First one is Judith Keough. Okay. Have an approval for a revised agenda. So want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Deliberation of public hearings, Judith Keough, 170 Little Meadow Road. This was the special permit to convert the detached accessory apartment to an office. I think it's a fairly low-impact use.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit to convert an existing accessory apartment into an home office for Judith Keough at 1700 Little Meadow Road, map 97, lot 31, as shown on an application dated 3/15/2019. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on April 29th, 2019, upon filing with the town clerk.
Good. Discussion.
Seems pretty clear cut.
Yeah. And she seemed very willing that if the neighbor was concerned about a fence, that they could work on it together, and there weren't any other neighbors that seemed concerned. So I was pretty comfortable with it.
Very specific on her office hours and the traffic that could be expected, so that's good.
Great.
It's not going to be heavily traveled anyway, so it's not a problem.
Well, Little Meadow Road is, so it's not going to add to it.
No. So that being said, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Connecticut Water Company is getting moved to the first. Now we have the CAM application for Frank Giglio. Do you have any proposed motions?
Comment first?
Let's make a motion,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then we
we'll
can comment.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal area management application for an addition to a single-family residence for Frank Gaglio, 100 Deepwood Drive, map 16, lot 102, as shown on an application dated 3/22/19. And referencing coastal site plan, property of Frank Gaglio and Sherry McKee, dated 3/22/19, revised 4/3/19 by Thomas Stevens and Associates. Proposed addition to home of Sherry McKee and Frank Gaglio by C.C. Cooley, dated October 15, 2018. This application is approved based upon, it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal area management policies of the state of Connecticut.
And I point you to the one condition that Kevin McGee wanted to add. Yes. That I previously read into the record. Would you like to amend your?
Amend it to reference Kevin McGee's condition of approval?
I'll second.
Also, I'd like to recommend that you add to the finding, in view of some of the testimony, the following language: after consistent with coastal management policy of the state of Connecticut, and that views of the water and coastal resources are protected in accordance with section, I can't quote the section, the section that talks about view corridors and the view setback area, that you quote that section of the zoning code as part of your finding.
271.
273, 91.
It's 273-91J1.
Okay, that's it.
So we have a motion. Discussion.
I'm thinking, we're getting back to the basic. What we have to do is enforce what we have, and we're here just strictly for a CAM on this application. The height requirements and all, we're not part of this application, but
That's the building department's
Yeah.
job to enforce that.
I'm concerned about view. However, obviously it's been pointed out that there's substantial viewing lane on the property.
I'm personally comfortable that we've addressed the CAM requirements. I haven't heard anything contrary to that from town staff, which they would have mentioned if it were not the case. So that being said, if you guys are comfortable, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Happy CAM. Okay, application to be received, Guilford Yacht Club, 379 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 11, zone MR1, site request to install a 25 by 25 temporary tent for spring installation and fall removal, receive and request action.
Good evening.
How you doing? Thanks for your patience.
Hopefully I'm easy one.
I'm about to say the public.
The closer. Peter Clark. My address is 22 Silo Hill Road, Madison, Connecticut. I'm a board member of the Unit Owners Association at the GYC. This request in front of you is for a temporary tent, seasonal, to support a restaurant, public restaurant that's being opened on site. There's a pending application with the health department for the permits for that. It's going to be, 25 by 25 white commercial tent erected by a company anchored down to the ground. I think it was in place last year as well, and provides shelter, sunshade for the restaurant patrons, tables and chairs underneath. Outdoor dining, yeah, al fresco.
That was going to be my question. Has this been up before?
I believe it was up last year.
The restaurant application was also approved last year.
Yes, that's correct.
So, can I assume it was just an oversight? Did we didn't approve a tent last year? I don't recall one.
I don't recall, but I believe maybe even the year before. I can't remember exactly.
I don't remember approving outdoor dining. I mean, we've had big talks about access to the waterways and everything else. But I know they got plenty of room for it.
Just call it an oversight.
I may be wrong.
Yeah,
That wasn't there last year. I don't remember, but.
All right, well, I'm glad you're bringing it before us.
You might have for special occasions, but you didn't need. This is more of a permanent thing.
This is going to be there for the season.
Yeah.
Anything we need to know on this, George? I mean,
No, the use was definitely approved last year.
For the restaurant.
For restaurant use, yes.
I do remember a discussion somewhat about, somebody brought up the point of excess bodies being there for a restaurant, and do that need septic and.
Not all that. The big controversy was public access.
Yes, to the waterway.
Correct.
And people, or transient boats coming in to dine. So that's not even.
Well, the question, the issue was raised as to whether or not we could require more public access to the yacht club property pursuant to the CAM regulations. And I think the commission determined that the approval of a public restaurant, while it's not public access in the purest sense of the word, in that people can't go there unless they're visiting the restaurant. It is a public restaurant. They can't turn people away from the public restaurant as long as the restaurant's open, unless it's, full or something. And that went a long way towards satisfying a more robust public access requirement.
And we approved it.
Yes, correct.
Put that, get that one behind us.
Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve an application from the Guilford Yacht Club, 379 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 13.
11.
Lot 11, to install a 25 by 25, and don't correct me, temporary tent as shown in the application dated 4/15/19. The application approves the following conditions: the building permit be obtained from the Guilford Building Department. That the tent be removed on before October 1st, 2019. This application is approved based on the finding that the conforms with the zoning code in the town.
I put that date in there not knowing exactly what date they wanted to have this thing, because it didn't really say in the application. It said spring to fall. So I wasn't sure if that was really what you had in mind in terms of a date.
I believe it is. I think it was September, so October covers it, yeah.
Well, second that.
If it's nice.
Discussion. Craig? Yeah.
Do they really need a building permit to put up a tent?
They do, because it has to be it has to be fastened
Secured.
in an appropriate way.
Right.
There's probably electric lighting inside of it, I'm not sure. But
no.
A tent that size definitely is.
Yeah, but
also
wind load and.
The fire marshal has to approve it to make sure it's not, has to meet certain flammability requirements or whatever.
The rest of it's all regulated.
Right.
I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Enjoy the tent? We will.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing you there.
We'll be there.
So there's really going to be a public restaurant now?
Yeah, it's called Bite. They've got the caterer lined up to run it. And
When does it open?
Wednesday to Sundays, I believe June 1st.
All right.
We'll get the word out.
On the spot.
Try and drum up business.
All right. Derek and Keiko Tomore, 104 Watering Pond Road, map 97, lot 35A-7, zone R8, special permit for custom floral design and detached accessory building, receive and set public hearing date for 5/15/19. All in favor? Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp, or Jeffrey, 10 Indian Cove Road, map 10, lot 168, zone R2, special permit in coastal area management to add dormer and rebuild deck, set public hearing date for 5/15/2019.
Second.
All in favor? I did have a chance to review the minutes, and they appeared substantially correct. Anyone else?
Move to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Someone like to make, with no further business, make a motion to adjourn?
Second. Do you want to say something about the zoning code update?
So, before we adjourn, as the budget passed, there was a line item in the budget to update our zoning codes, because there's all kinds of references and cross-references.
To hire a consultant.
To hire a consultant. So we'll be putting together an RFP to go out to several consultants to get their proposals for rewriting our zoning code.
Was the full amount approved that was budgeted?
Yes.
And I would mention too that this has been done by all the towns in our area, so it's definitely something that.
Have you actually been able to compare and work with them?
No, it's just Russ Champagne, who's the chairman of the planning committee, has mentioned multiple times that he is well aware of other towns in the area that have done similar things, and that this is a long time coming for Guilford.
Terrific. Well, I'm glad the budget got approved and that this item got approved. So, someone make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.